All right, welcome to Three Blondes, One Battle. Today we have a guest friend of mine, David Lyons. Welcome to our show.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I was telling Dylan said, my son, he's like, have you already interviewed David before? I'm like, yeah, but it was like 2.5 years ago. It's been a
Yeah,
while.
yeah. It was a while back.
Yeah, and since then, you've been featured on Are You Kidding Me? So I was looking at your website, ABC, Fox News, Good Day LA, CBS, MS Society, Wago Health, Everyday Health Group, the bodybuilding.com. I mean, and now you have your own show once a week. We all knew, about your book. If you haven't read David's Goliath, this is his book, you should absolutely read it. Especially, I was just chatting with somebody newly diagnosed. You have your book, and optimal body fitness is what we're going to talk about. And now you have the elite. Like, there's just so much going on. How do you even keep up with everything?
Well, I slept 4 hours last night, so that's how I keep up with it. My sleep gets less and less and less, and more it keeps happening. But look, I'm not complaining. Angie Gensler, who works with me, one of my top trainers, competitor in fitness and all this. She said, you need to rest. I said, Angie, I'll tell you when I'm going to rest. You come to my funeral and you'll say, now Dave's at rest. And that's it.
That's such a Semper Fi, like, Marine thing to say.
Well, you know it. You know it. I think that the only reason why I know I'm getting older is my beard keeps getting grayer.
Grayer, yeah, you can't hide like the facial
No,
hair. You
no.
can't fool the facial hair. Um, well, I love that you're on the show again. So thank you again for coming on and just giving us an update. Really, you started out as MS Fitness Challenge, right? And that was, when did you start that? Because I was trying to think how we met. It was definitely through that.
Yeah. So it actually the whole thing started with the MS bodybuilding challenge. That's way
Oh,
before anyone even knew me. When I was diagnosed and I said, okay, I'm going to go back to the gym and I'm going to beat this thing. I said, well, how am I going to do this and where am I going to get support? So this guy that I was training with, who became like my trainer and my training partner, unfortunately passed away a few years ago, Darren Barnes.
oh, I
Really, yeah,
remember that post. I didn't know
yeah,
that. Okay.
really great guy. I mean, he was there from the beginning. In fact, he sat in my house after my diagnosis and he said, look, you got to get back into the gym. And I refused for like a year. And finally he said, I'm going to pick you up and take you. So him and a buddy, they got together and literally picked me up and threw me in a car, took me to the
Yeah.
gym. And after a couple of months, I said, hey, Darren, what do you think if I entered a bodybuilding competition? He goes, well, I think you're crazy, but let's do it. So we started to train for it. I said, how do I get people to kind of get behind this? And, we called it the MS Bodybuilding Challenge. I think there's
Oh,
still a couple of t-shirts around there somewhere.
of
But
course.
yeah, so we did that and we had like these pro football players. I was living in Orlando at the time. So we had like retired pro football players supporting it, all these guys in the fitness industry, and Deke Warner, who was running the NPC in Florida. He got behind it and I trained and I competed. But it was the MS Bodybuilding Challenge until my wife Kendra said, that's great. I mean, you look good and everybody's patting you on the back, but how's that helping other people with MS? You standing up there in a little pair of shorts, flexing, that maybe it inspires some people, but who the heck is going to do what you're doing? She said,
Yeah.
you need to teach them how to train. And I said, Nikki, I didn't know how to train for MS. I was a
Yeah.
bodybuilder.
Right.
So I was doing everything as a bodybuilder, and that was not helping the MS. It was actually
Mhm.
making it worse. And
Mhm.
that's when I started saying, what do I have to do? What do I have to study? And how do I take all these 25 years of fitness, almost more at that time, of experience and put that into helping people? And
Mhm.
that's where optimal body training came. But at the same time, that's when the MS Fitness Challenge started. So that was over 12 years.
Mm. Okay. Yeah, and I have a lot of friends managing MS, just like you do. And would you say the majority of your friends do not lift? Because the majority of mine do not. They don't do any of
Um,
this.
well, to be honest with you, the majority of my friends are on optimal body now. So
Okay. Okay.
the, the ones that were doing nothing, they're now working out at home using resistance bands.
Hmm.
A few of the people that I know that had MS from the beginning that were into lifting, I've taken them from nothing to winning their competitions at their gyms and things like that. So
Wow.
I have a good portion of all the people that I do know with MS are working out now.
Hmm. And why would you say this is important? Because when I mention to people that, let me just say, I will admit I am a bad client, and that's why I literally had to sign up with David. I mean, right? Like I will admit it on air. I told you I was doing, and then you would check on me and like, oh, it's been a couple months. Like,
Yeah.
so I needed that one-on-one. I needed your elite program. I needed you, and we could talk about the difference. In a little bit, but I needed you to give me every single day, especially for those that are used to, let's say, Beachbody programs. Before I was
Right.
diagnosed, I literally did Beachbody program after program. So I was used to every morning waking up, pushing play, getting my jumping on, getting my power, whatever on, heavy lifting. This is obviously before my limitations. But once I was limited, I'm a very black and white person. And I think there are a lot of people like us out there that are prior service military or just black and white. If I can't do it, I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
So tell me why that's a terrible, terrible idea
Well,
with
let's go back to you saying that you were doing Beachbody.
MS.
So as you saw, you did Beachbody and you did it until your limitations hit, right?
Hmm. Yep.
Well, why did your limitations hit? They hit because you weren't doing optimal body. If you were training the way you're training now, chances are you would have gotten ahead of your limitations like I have. And look, I squat, I'm going to be 66 in a couple months. I can still squat 500 pounds. I can run up and down my stairs. I could jog on a treadmill. I could jump rope. I could do one arm dumbbell rows with 100-pound dumbbells, and I can't even feel this hand. So why do I not have limitations? Because I changed from bodybuilding, which was not helping my MS, to the training methods that we use in optimal body. So when you were doing all of this beach body, you weren't getting anywhere with MS. You might have looked better and your heart might have been doing some good stuff because of the cardio, but it wasn't doing anything to stop MS.
Wait, so for those that were newly diagnosed, so what you're telling me, I just had a light bulb moment. So because I still could do it, what you're saying is for those newly diagnosed that have, their first attack and they're fine. You're fine. Remember those days where you have one attack and it's years goes by before your second attack
Yeah.
and you're still running marathons. You're still doing, the hardcore high intensity interval training that I was teaching those type of classes. So
Right.
are you saying that actually hurt me?
Yeah. Yeah, because it didn't hurt you as far as being healthy, okay? Because any type of activity is going to help with health. What it hurt you with is it did nothing to stop MS from getting worse, and you weren't doing anything to combat MS. All you were doing is trying to get your body flowing and building a little bit of muscle mass or whatever your goals were. But your
Mhm.
goals should have been, how do I stop MS from taking over my body before it does? What do I do to activate the processes in my body that I need to do that? And how do I get my mindset into the place where I get away from thinking that bodybuilding and beach body and CrossFit and all that stuff, even though I love doing it, is what I need to do? It's a whole mind shift. So your
Mhm.
mindset, which I call mental fitness, has to shift. It has to shift away from what you think is going to work to what scientifically will work. And that's where the difference is.
Yeah, and that's huge. And I think that's a hard pill to swallow at the beginning because
Yeah.
you're fine. I mean,
Yeah.
you might not even have any limitations. And you might be a little like me where you just wanted to ignore it. You're just like, what? MS what? Like this obviously was
Yeah.
before the podcast was developed. I didn't talk about it. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to admit it until I had to, until things started getting bad. And I always look back definitely after meeting you and learning more about this, just the nerve connection and all, and you can tell a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
But it makes me mad that I did that to myself for 7 years.
You can't go
Oh,
backwards, Nikki.
I
Unfortunately,
know.
I wish, although I loved that I competed and I got a big trophy up there on top of these other things, it was really nice. And I don't regret doing it, but I regret how I trained to do it. I
Mhm.
could have gotten on that stage using this optimal body training that I developed later
Mhm.
without any type of limitations, where I was standing on stage shaking. I couldn't pose the way I wanted to. My leg
Mhm.
was dragging. I mean, it was a nightmare to compete. Where if I wanted to compete now, I would have no problem getting on stage and doing what I needed to do. I have no desire to compete anymore.
Yeah.
But I have too many torn muscles, and I'm just old. I don't want to do it. But if I would have changed the way I trained from the beginning and said, "Oh, I got MS. What do I have to do to activate muscle fibers? What do I have to do to get my nerves working correctly?" Instead of, "Hey, I got to get big and I want to be on
Mhm.
stage," I would have been in a whole different position, and I would have been 4 years ahead of myself. But
Mhm.
we can't look backwards. So what we have to do, because looking in the rearview mirror, what's that going to get us? We don't see anything in front.
Nah.
So
Yeah.
we forget that, and we say, okay, now that I know how to do this, I'm going to do it right. And
Mhm.
that's exactly what I'm doing. And that's what I'm doing with thousands and thousands of people in 25 countries right now. So, and it works. And I hear from so many people over and over, day after day, that are just doing amazing. And not just MS, Nikki. I have people that work with me with muscular dystrophy. I have one I call everybody students. I don't call people clients. But I have
Mhm.
one student that's 75 years old, has muscular dystrophy. And she told me she went to the dentist the other day, and the hygienist said, "Wow, you're walking so much better. What are you doing?" She said, "I'm working with this guy, David Lyons, and I'm doing this." And she told this woman had given up
Yeah.
muscular dystrophy. That's different than MS. MD affects the muscles, MS affects the nerves, but it
Right.
all boils down to the same thing. We're limited. We become limited if we allow that to happen. It can be reversed with anything. I've worked with ALS, I've worked with cerebral palsy, all different types of conditions and anti aging. So Optimal Body is not just an MS program, although
Mhm.
that's where I targeted at the beginning because that's what I have. But
Mhm.
as I saw what was going on, I said, this will work with anyone. And I've tried it with all different types of chronic conditions and diseases, even people recovering from cancer. And I'm working with a professional wrestler right now. He doesn't mind if I mention his name. His name is Rick Savage, very, very well known wrestler. He's worked with people like Hulk Hogan. And
Wow.
he's training now. He's in a few days on October 5th. It's his last competition, his last wrestling match. And he's retiring, 55 years old. Okay.
Wow.
And he came to me months ago and he said, I'm working with people, I'm working with trainers, I'm on a program. He said, I'm in the gym for hours, I'm tired, I'm not really building muscle, I feel like crap. How am I going to get to this match? Can you help me? I said, yeah, I'll help you. I said, forget everything that this guy's telling you. He might be a good guy, but he doesn't know what he's doing. So let him off. And he did. I said, we're going to put you on Optimal Body. And he said, well, that's only like 30 minutes. I said, Rick, do what I'm telling you for 30 minutes. And I'm guaranteeing you, I will change your body composition before your match, and you will feel the best you've ever felt in your whole life. Within a month, he was saying that's exactly what was happening. No injuries anymore. His injuries don't even bother him. in and
Wow.
out of the gym in 30 minutes. His
Mhm.
body, we have before and after, is like a different guy. Okay, he's
Wow.
got muscle everywhere that he didn't have. Now, this is an elite athlete. This is a pro wrestler. Okay, and now he looks like a bodybuilder, and
Wow.
but he can do whatever he wants to do. And he's 55, and I'm telling you, he's going to kick some butt when he gets into that ring on October 5th. Optimal body and this type of training will work for anyone if you do it correctly.
And so is he doing your elite program? Are you making a specific program just for him?
Yes, specifically for
Okay.
him. And now his wife is in.
Oh,
So his
wow.
wife said, "Man, what did you do to my husband? I want to do this." So I'm working with her. And she's already, in just a few weeks saying, "I don't believe how great this is." The key is not how long you spend in the gym, it's what you do in the shortest amount of time when you're in the gym. Okay. We
Mhm.
don't want to waste energy, especially with MS. We want to preserve our energy and we want to create energy. Well, you're
Mhm.
not going to do that training for an hour, 2 hours in the gym every day, going crazy, lifting all these weights and not paying attention to how you're doing it. You're only
Right.
going to get there if you make that workout intense, short, and with training methods that are effective.
Yeah. No, that's great. So let the audience know the difference between your optimal body and your optimal body elite program.
Well, we have different programs, period, with Optimal Body. So we've got the Optimal Body program, which is a video program that they can go online. It's virtually inexpensive. They go on, do their digital, you watch everything and follow me. It's me taking them through, but it's on video. And it's a great program and it's got a lot of components. There's a mental fitness part of it, there's nutrition in there, but it's all video. Okay.
Mhm.
That's one part, but it uses the optimal body training methods. The elite program goes really, really deep into you. It goes into your DNA and your genetics. What are you likely to get as far as conditions? So when I did my DNA, I found that I was susceptible to getting MS. It showed in
Mhm.
my DNA. So if I would have looked at my DNA, 20 years ago, I would have said, "Whoa, I might get this disease," and I could have thought differently about how to do this. But I didn't know. But that DNA will tell you, and there's like, I don't know, a million or so different factors in the DNA process that we get. And it's amazing what DNA and genetics will tell about the best way to train, the best way to eat, the best way to live. Everything is in there. So we use that. We also look at your blood work. We want to know, are your hormones working correctly? Because a lot of us aren't. And we've
Mhm.
got to fix that because you're not going to burn fat and gain muscle if your hormones are completely off. If you have
Mhm.
too much estrogen when you shouldn't, or too much testosterone if you're a woman and you shouldn't, or vice versa for the men. You got to know what your hormones, you got to know what your thyroid is doing. You've got to know what vitamin D level, especially for
Mhm.
MS, is. We have to know our homocysteine. We have to know what our all the things in there, AOA and
Yeah.
all. I mean,
Yeah.
I could go on and on and on. IGF-1, what are our growth hormone levels? Because
Mhm.
if you don't know that, you don't know what's going on with your body. So Elite goes into that, and we design programs specifically based on DNA and based on what we hear from you. And it's again, it is video, but it's more designed and custom for you. The other
Mhm.
programs we have are me personally working with people one on one, which is the whole highest level you can be because I am with you
Mhm.
live every single month and people have access to me and it's just a different program. If you want to have a real coach, then we
Mhm.
have the senior program, which we work with people online with seniors, and that again is an online video program. So we've got a lot of different optimal body ways of going.
Wow, that's amazing. And I will tell everyone that it's going to be a little different than what you're used to. And so it, when something is new, it might seem a little strange, right? Like it might be a little uncomfortable, or you're like, this isn't really lifting. It's
Right.
And why is that? Why are we, let's focus directly on those managing MS. Why are you having us lift a different way than what we're used to?
Well, I mean, it really depends on what someone with MS is doing. Some people with MS just go to the gym and they throw weights up, or they do
Mhm.
equipment and they're doing their, 10 reps or 15 reps, whatever, and they're spending an hour there going from machine to machine or
Yes.
dumbbell. There are people that do that. Then there are people that go to CrossFit that,
Oh
that
yeah.
have MS, and then they're completely burnt out. And
Mhm.
then there are people that do these programs where all they're doing is these type of things. You know,
Mm. Mhm.
why doesn't that stuff work? Because none of it is activating the processes in the body that have to be activated to overcome MS limitations and to get ahead of it. You might get some of it in what you're doing. You get some muscle fiber activation, but unless you have specific focus driven workouts designed with training methods, and what I mean by methods is how you're lifting. Am I contracting? Am I stretching? Am I doing time under tension? Am I doing negative resistance? Things like that, unless you implement them correctly, you're not going to activate those processes. Acetylcholine, which is a chemical in your brain that moves your muscles. Most people don't even understand what that means. Yet,
Mhm.
if you don't have a good level of acetylcholine with MS, especially, or a disease like muscular dystrophy, your muscles are not going to move properly no matter what you do. I
Mhm.
just spoke to a neuroscientist the other day who found me on the internet and reached out to me, and she works for a big company, and they want me to do some speaking at some of their conventions. So I'm doing some video presentations for them and things like that. And she said to me, I've never seen anyone in the MS space, and she has about 4 or 5 people in her family that have MS. She said she's never seen anyone in the fitness space with MS doing what I'm doing. And she
Mhm.
said nobody even understands acetylcholine. And she said the reason that you're doing so well has a lot to do with the fact that your receptors in your body have been opened up to get as much acetylcholine as possible by the way you train.
Mhm.
So when you're going to the gym and you're thinking, hey, this is great. I don't want to listen to this guy, Dave. I don't want to use bands. I don't want to do this. I don't want to hold for this. I just want to do my workouts. And you do that, all you're doing is stopping the progress of getting better. And
Right.
eventually MS is going to catch up to you. Okay.
Mhm.
Whether it's a year from now, whether it's 5 years from now, you're not going to stay ahead of this disease just working out. You've got
Mhm.
to implement these type of training methods, period. And the science is behind it.
And I don't know a greater hope that you could say out loud than the words "get ahead of it." I mean, especially, if you've been managing it for 15, 20, 25 years, like that is like music to my ears. I want to get ahead of it. Absolutely.
Well, when I was diagnosed, Nikki, I mean, look, whoever knows my story knows this, but I couldn't feel anything from here down. I was completely numb. I had trouble even moving. I was holding on and like dragging myself. I was in the hospital for 5 days until they found out what was going on with me and said it was MS. But they said I was wheelchair bound like within 6 months. I was dragging my leg. I couldn't even bend my knee up and down. I couldn't get my foot off the
Mhm.
floor. My foot drop was so bad, I couldn't even do a calf raise. I couldn't squeeze my fingers at all. So this
Wow.
was about all I could do. I could not do this. I couldn't do this like I'm doing today. All
Wow.
of this stuff was a mess. Okay. My arm was like hanging. Okay. 4 years of doing that, really, a year or so of like being depressed and saying, oh, I give up, and like not going to the gym at all.
We've
And then
all been there.
yep. And then finally going to the gym and saying, oh, I'm a bodybuilder. I'm just going to lift heavy weights. And I tore this muscle and I tore this muscle. And all these things are getting torn because I'm just lifting like a lunatic. And my leg is still dragging and they're picking me in and up out of equipment. Nothing's getting better.
Mhm.
So, what was I doing wrong? Hey, I'm lifting, I'm moving. Everybody says just move when it comes to MS. Well, I'm just moving. Why aren't I getting ahead of it? So there was 4 years of a wasted time for me. Then
Mhm.
I had to start and then start getting ahead. Well, here I am ahead of this disease. And I've had a couple of attacks over these years,
Mhm.
I was right back in the gym in a week or two, and I was stepped right back ahead of it. So it might have sidelined me a little bit because I had, MS attacks you, it attacks you,
Yeah.
but didn't stop me. I was still back in the gym once I got through that.
So are your attacks with your legs?
It was actually my arm, my whole left side was like,
Numb.
yeah, I couldn't, it just, whatever went on in my brain and my spinal cord just shut down my left side. And I
Mhm.
had to, of course, I took
Solumedrol.
Solomedrol. Yeah, went into the doctor. I wouldn't go into the hospital. He wanted to admit me. I said, no, no,
Nah.
no. I said, just put the PICC line in me, put it in. I'll go home,
Yeah,
and then I'll come back the next day. I did that for a few days,
that's what
and
I
then
do.
that went away, and then I was back at the gym and stepping ahead. I haven't had any issues like that in 7 years.
Oh my gosh, 7
Yeah,
years. Now,
yeah,
are you on any DMDs, or are you all natural? I thought you were all natural. Yeah.
yeah. Well, it depends on what you call natural.
Well,
So
you don't do any like Ocrevus or
no,
the
no.
Copaxone or
No,
yeah.
I won't touch an MS medication.
Mhm.
Okay. And there's a lot
Yeah.
of reasons for that. I'm not preaching not to do it. Okay. If people want to take their meds, they go ahead and listen to your doctor, do what the doctor tells you.
Mhm.
My decision after the doctor said to take it was no, I'm not.
Mhm.
And we're just finished a documentary on me, and that is out for distribution. So it should be somewhere pretty soon. It's in the film festivals, and in there, we talk about how I just go to the gym and do what I got to do. I'm not taking meds. I won't do it.
Wait, you're in a new so is it all about
Yeah.
you?
Well, it's about my journey with MS and how we started the MS Fitness Challenge
Oh,
and why.
amazing.
And it ends where I get my induction into the National Fitness Hall of Fame, which
Okay.
was like 6 years ago now.
Yeah.
But we filmed all this stuff. I had a young filmmaker. He was following me everywhere. He did all this filming. So it actually starts when I decided to go into the gym to be a bodybuilder again. And
Okay.
it talks about that. And then it goes into the MS Fitness Challenge and then what I'm doing with the online stuff. And it's just a story about what can be if you have hope to do it.
Yeah, no, I love it. Are you in Matt Embry's new living
No, I
group?
wasn't in the second one. I was in the first one.
First one?
So
Yeah.
yeah,
He's on his third one. Isn't that supposed to be released this next year?
I think no, I think he's only on this. Oh, it might be on the third one, but he's still releasing the second one.
Okay. So is that coming next year?
I think that's the one that's coming next
Okay.
year.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't have time. We didn't have time to get together. I'm in California. He was in Canada.
Yeah.
He had to go to certain places. New York. He went to New York. And like I said, Angie, who works with me, is in the second one because it was
Oh,
easier. Yeah, it was easier for him to get there than to come here. So we
cool.
never was able to get into that second one. But yeah,
Yeah.
he's got that. My film is very, very different. We're not talking about cures for MS.
Right.
We're not, we're just showing a journey and
Right.
how difficult this disease could be for someone and how I was able to overcome that difficulty.
And that's what everybody needs. And I always, don't you agree, like looking back in the last, I would say 10, 15 years, it's all about finding people like you and Matt and our other friend Matt and all these people that have overcome MS, and surround yourself with those people. Especially
Yeah.
when you're first diagnosed. There's so much hope. There's so many things that you could be doing right off the bat, including your program, that you may think doesn't make a difference, but if you know the science behind it, you might want to get on board sooner rather than later.
Well,
So,
the biggest problem that people have is when they get diagnosed, they don't know where to turn. So they go online and there's, 50 different MS Facebook groups. And
mhm,
out of 50 of them, 4 of them are positive.
right.
So they're finding all this negativity before maybe they bump into my group or, one of the other groups that's positive,
Yeah.
and they're getting all this feedback that's terrible,
Mhm.
and then they see all these experts that are posting on YouTube and they don't even have MS, and they're out there saying that they're experts at MS and they're PTs and all this type of junk. And they put out these programs, and all their programs are functional movements that have very, very little benefit long term. You might feel a little bit better at the beginning, but it's not going to stop it or change those limitations. The other problem that I find with a lot of those programs is that they're giving people misinformation. So then those people think that all you have to do is sit around and go like this with your finger or bend your body like this a little bit, and you're going to be great. And, again, most of these people that are putting out these programs, they don't even have the disease. They're claiming they've got something else or whatever. I don't know. It's just very frustrating watching. I just saw one of these guys that has a big program out there for MS, and he was doing this bending motion. And he was telling people, if you do this, it's working your core and you're going to be able to stand better. And then people were actually posting, making comments, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. That's not your core. Yet this guy has a degree in physical therapy or wherever he's got. And yet he's putting out these programs. It's scary. And the sad thing is that when people don't know that he doesn't know, and these other people really don't know what they're doing, they follow it because they think it's entertaining. They're joking around, having a good old time. Oh, it's not so strenuous. I can do that. Oh, well, he must know or she must know because they're PTs, whatever. And they get the wrong information. This is not about entertainment. I'm not here to be your joker. Okay, I'm here to train you. I'm here to coach you. You might not like me sometimes. You might not like what I'm telling you to do. But I'm telling you, if you do it, you will overcome limitations. You will get stronger. You will get more mobile. Those things will happen. But if you want to sit around and laugh with me and go like this with your fingers, move your head like this, I'm not the guy. All right?
Yeah, sometimes on the fourth round, you're like, one more. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do one more. Like, can we just do 3?
Yeah, can I just close my eyes and hope it works?
Can I just stop? But what's interesting is once you're kind of in our world, because I mean we're connected, and then I know you start to see kind of like this group of people that everyone knows everyone, and everyone's kind of saying, wouldn't you say that we kind of were into, what you say out loud about yourself, that's what's going to happen. We're very, into what we put in our mouths, what, our diet is important. We're very, keen on getting in the right workouts, like your program. I just feel like a lot of us intertwine, and then you're like, wait, David knows Matt, who knows the other Matt, who knows, so-and-so. Like, it's almost like you're one big happy family at that point, and everybody's positive. And if you find an outlier, like your PT person, you're like, wait, that person doesn't know. So it's almost like you can see the outliers. They're like, oh no, you're not part of our kind of like, you can beat this world. And that's the world you want to be in, especially when you're newly diagnosed.
Absolutely. You've got to be with people that are positive, that are giving hope, but even more importantly, Nikki, that know what they're saying. So when someone like Matt Embry talks about, dieting, it's not like he pulled something out of the sky and said, oh, don't eat dairy because I don't like dairy. There's science behind that. Yeah. It's not, I never liked resistance bands. I thought that was a joke when I was a bodybuilder. And most of my programs are using resistance bands. Yes, you can do it in the gym and you could use equipment and dumbbells if you like to. But most people, for safety, especially those that have problems with mobility, we use resistance bands. I don't tell people to do that because I care. I like resistance bands. Oh, this is what I want to do.
They're horrible. They're hard. It's hard.
Right. And it works. So when you have the right ideas and you know what science is behind that, that's what you give people. So it's hope, but it's knowledge that goes with the hope. And that's what's extremely important about all this is, are we bringing people the right information? Are we giving them the right knowledge? Or are we just trying to entertain people and give people our opinions? No, no, because if I wanted to give my opinion to people, I tell everybody, hey, be a bodybuilder, you don't need those stupid resistance bands. Let's go to a gym and let's lift some weights,
Yeah.
That, I mean, that's my love. But if I want to stop my MS, I want to keep staying ahead of it. I'm doing my workouts using my optimal body program. I do use weights. So don't get me wrong. I use weights. I'll go to a gym when I want to, but majority of time I am still using resistance bands with the weights and everything else, because there's some movements that it's just safer and it's easier to change the little clips and to do that than it is for me to go from 100-pound dumbbells to 80-pound dumbbells and throw those around. It's easier for me to put on 3 black 50-pound bands, and there I have 150 pounds of resistance. So it's not just because Dave likes this. It's because I used it to get where I got, and then I started using it with people that have MS. And there's so many that have done it.
Wait, you can run right now?
Yeah, I run on a treadmill. I have a treadmill right outside this
That makes
door.
me so jealous. I want to run again.
Yeah, but you can. I never thought I'd be able to either. I was dragging my leg. I used to laugh. I'd say, I look like Hunchback of Notre Dame. I'd be like this, sideways,
Yeah, I don't stand up very straight. I have to deliberately stand up because, I mean, I think with limitations, we tend to kind of look down. Like, we tend to look down, make sure we don't trip. So that's another reason why I signed up for your elite program is first off, I wanted like everything specifically for me. I like the DNA aspect of it. That's taken forever to come back, by the way.
Yeah, I know. The shipping of everything lately has been nuts.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with our postal service, but it's bad.
It's bad. It's bad for every business. But so I wanted that. And then why else? I don't know. I just I obviously, we've been friends forever, and I trust you. And then your accolades speak for himself. I mean, I don't really, I didn't have to be your friend before. I could just look at what you've accomplished.
Right.
And the fact that you had a lazy leg and like you're running now, okay, like I'm going to do that. So
well, can I tell you that optimal body training has every year since we released it to everybody, which was going now on 6 years, it's won the most comprehensive MS fitness program. And now this year, the most comprehensive MS and chronic conditions fitness program worldwide. And that's by several different companies that evaluate all of these programs that are out there for MS and different, conditions. And even the senior programs, I'm telling you, we're going to win for seniors too soon.
That's awesome.
They look at these things and they go, okay, well, which one has the best program? And we beat everybody year after year after year.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. That's so good. I'm so glad I'm friends with you.
Well, no, you just enrolled. You enrolled in elite, so I could yell at you.
I do like that. I mean, I was prior service. We're
Right.
a weird breed. Yes. Well, anyway, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. How can people find you?
Well, we have our charity, which I'm promoting here because I was wearing this today. The MS Fitness Challenge, which is an actual nonprofit charity that helps people with MS all over the world that just, can't afford anything or they need help in fitness. And we have programs and we do all sorts of things for them. We just started our newsletter, which has a lot of information on nutrition and mindset and fitness. And that's at msfitnesschallenge.org. Okay. And they could find me there. They could email me there. The Optimal Body program is on there as well. They'll be able to go to paid programs. So there's unpaid and there's paid. So the Optimal Body is a paid program. If someone wants to just look at that alone, it's OB, B as in boy, P as in Peter, fitness.com or OBPF. The OBPfitness.com. I don't even know what it is. I never go.
Okay. What happened to the Oscar Bravo? Yeah. Come on now.
Well, I stopped that years ago because people go, what? So it's obpfitness.com, and they can find out about optimal body. And then there's the elite part of it, which you have a link to that. I'll let you share that link. But there's, if people don't remember that, all they have to do is msfitnesschallenge.org, and they could email me through there as well.
And I will just say, if you're the type of person, I mean, if you're the type of person that if it's free, you're not doing it, and you know who you are, I am that person.
Yeah.
You should look at the paid programs, because if you're not logging in, if you're not doing it week after week, month after month, then you need to step up your game.
Well, remember this, Nikki, and you said it. Free is okay. There are people that just are so limited on their money. So we provide some free things on the website for the charity. But when you're not paying for something, you're not committed. Even for me, I look at things and I go, you know what? If they're not going to charge me, what are they actually giving me? When you have to pay for something, you're getting something in return for the payment, and that something has to have value. And if you pay nothing, what's the value? The value in your mind is not really there. And the Optimal Body, the video program, it's really inexpensive. We just basically cover costs with that. The elite program, of course, is more, and working with me is more, because we're spending a heck of a lot of time and money to put those programs together. But again, you want to pay for a program, because if you're not going to stay with it. You got to make that commitment.
Exactly. We find the ways to pay for things that we want.
It's funny, because I always say to people, I say, I can't afford this. Okay, so let's run down what you spend on every month. And then
lashes, hair. I just got my brow. I mean, women, come on, ladies. What are you spending on?
Well, even the men are doing stupid stuff with their money. They're buying like all these, they go to GNC and they buy like, $500 worth of vitamins, and they think protein powders that are full of sugar, and they don't even look at what's in it, but they spend all that money. And then they say, but I can't afford to have a coach, well, take that money that you're throwing away on all that stuff that's worthless and put it to a coach. There's in anything that you do in life, whether it's fitness, whether it's business, whether it's your lifestyle, coaching, if you have the right coach, is an amazing thing. I have a coach. I've worked with the same coach for 10 years or more in my bodybuilding. I always reach out to him. His name is Eric Brozer. He trains the Mr. Olympia and the Ms. Olympia competitors, highest level bodybuilders out there. And I use him, and I bounce off things when it has to do with my bodybuilding, not my MS stuff, because he says, you're the expert in that. But when it comes to bodybuilding, even with all my years, and I know a lot of what he knows, in fact, we're pretty neck and neck on knowledge, but I want that coaching, because if I have someone that I have to be accountable to, I am going to listen more than if I slept 4 hours last night. I'm a little tired today. I'm not going to go out there and do my triceps. I got to do my tricep workout after this. And then I have to train more people. If I didn't have to answer to a coach, I might skip that tricep workout.
Right.
And then these babies are going to shrink.
Can't have that.
Oh, not at all.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and providing us with your wisdom. It's always good to see you and hear from you, and I appreciate you.
Well, good. And guys, look for my documentary. It's called MS Fitness Challenge, The Journey. It's in the film festivals right now, should be out for distribution very shortly. And I will be sharing that with people when I know where they can watch it.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much. Thanks for joining us. You can find us on iTunes and Spotify, 3 Blondes, 1 Battle, and we'll see you next week.